Have you ever found yourself suddenly being ignored by someone you thought was close to you? One moment they're engaging with you, and the next they're distant and unresponsive. It stings, doesn't it? But before you jump to conclusions, what if I told you that their behavior may have less to do with you and more to do with them? In today's episode, we are going to break down the real reasons why people start ignoring you and what it really means about your relationship with them. Understanding these dynamics can not only help you navigate this confusing situation, but also empower you to take control of how you respond and how you move forward. So let's dive in and explore why this happens and why sometimes it's not as personal as it feels. 1. They're testing your reaction. Have you ever noticed that some people suddenly start ignoring you and instead of confronting you directly seem to be waiting for you to make the first move? It can feel frustrating and confusing. Why would someone you care about pull away without explanation? Well, sometimes this behavior isn't about you at all. It's about them testing your reaction. People who test your reaction are often trying to gauge how much you truly care or how much control they have over you. They want to see how much you are willing to chase after them, how badly you'll react, or whether you'll bend to their emotional distance. If you respond by seeking them out, apologizing, or emotionally overreacting, it gives them the leverage they were looking for in their eyes. They now have power over you because they see that you are willing to chase them, to beg for their attention, or to allow them to control the dynamic. This is where the real power comes in. By not reacting, by choosing not to chase after them or allow their silence to control your emotions, you show strength. Ignoring their test doesn't mean you don't care. It means you respect yourself enough to not fall into their emotional manipulation by standing firm and not giving in to the temptation to react emotionally. You take back control of the situation and prevent them from gaining leverage over you. The truth is, when someone is testing your reaction, they're often looking for validation that they can affect your behavior. The moment you show that you are unaffected by their distance, you remove their power, and they no longer have the ability to manipulate or control you. So how do you respond when someone starts ignoring you? The best thing you can do is to stay calm and composed. Instead of reaching out to them in a panic, take a step back and assess the situation. By not reacting impulsively, you send the message that you are in control of your own emotions, and they cannot sway you with silence or distance. Imagine today, instead of chasing after someone who is testing your reaction, you stood still and remained unfazed. You let go of the need to prove anything and allowed the situation to unfold naturally. This quiet strength will not only protect your peace, but also show that you are in command of your own emotions and your relationships. 2. They no longer benefit from you. Have you ever had someone close to you suddenly pull away only to realize that their presence seemed to coincide with the time when you were offering something they needed, whether it was your time, resources, or attention? It's a harsh truth, but sometimes people only stay around as long as they're receiving something from you. When that benefit disappears, so do they. People who were only around for what they could gain from you, whether emotionally, financially, or socially, often disappear once they no longer need something from the relationship. It's not that you've done anything wrong, it's just that the dynamics have changed. These types of relationships are transactional in nature. They aren't built on mutual respect or true connection, but rather on what one person can get from the other. Once that need is no longer there, the relationship fades away. This doesn't make the behavior any less painful, especially if you thought the relationship was based on something deeper. It can feel like betrayal, but it's important to recognize this for what it truly is, a sign that the connection wasn't as strong or genuine as you may have believed. These relationships often have an unspoken cost-benefit aspect, and once the benefit to the other person is gone, the relationship becomes irrelevant to them. The good news, recognizing this behavior allows you to avoid investing your time and energy in relationships that aren't truly reciprocal. You learn to focus on those who are there for you because of who you are, not just what you can give them. So how can you handle this type of situation? Start by recognizing when a relationship feels one-sided. Are you the one always giving while the other person only reaches out when they need something? If someone's interest in you fades, when you are no longer a resource to them, it's time to reassess the value of the relationship. Don't be afraid to walk away from relationships that are based on convenience rather than true connection. Imagine today, instead of chasing someone who only valued you for what you could give, you focused on nurturing relationships where there's mutual respect and care. By doing this, you'll surround yourself with people who truly appreciate you, not just what you provide for them. 3. They're influenced by others. Have you ever noticed that some people who were once close to you suddenly start acting differently? But when you look closely, it's not because of anything you did. It's as though someone or something outside of your relationship has started to shape their behavior. This can be one of the most confusing situations to navigate when someone you care about begins to change because they've been influenced by the opinions and gossip of others. People can be easily swayed by external influences, whether it's a friend, family member, or even social media. When someone starts to act differently towards you or pulls away without any direct cause from you, it's often because they've been listening to the wrong people. Those external voices can distort their perception of the situation, and instead of coming to you for clarity, they let gossip or unverified opinions shape their behavior. This is a painful reality, especially when it feels like they've turned against you based on what others have said. It can leave you feeling hurt, confused, and betrayed. However, the important thing to remember here is that this isn't a reflection of your worth or your relationship with that person. It's a reflection of their vulnerability to outside influence. The people who truly care about you will come to you for clarity rather than relying on others' opinions. The solution: let them go if they choose to believe what others are saying over what they've experienced with you. If someone is truly influenced by others without seeking the truth from you directly, they might not be the kind of person you need in your life. True friends or valuable relationships don't fall apart because of hearsay. They withstand challenges by communicating openly and honestly. So how can you deal with this situation? First, don't chase after someone who's been swayed by external opinions. Instead, focus on maintaining your integrity and allowing them to come to their own conclusions. If the relationship is meant to last, they will realize their mistake and seek clarity from you. In the meantime, protect your peace and move forward without trying to convince someone who's already made up their mind based on someone else's influence. Imagine today, instead of trying to prove your worth to someone who's been influenced by others, you accepted the reality that their opinion of you isn't your responsibility. You allowed them the space to figure things out, knowing that a true connection is built on open communication and mutual trust. 4. You've stopped playing by their rules. Have you ever found yourself in a relationship where you felt like you were constantly bending to someone else's unspoken expectations? They may not have overtly told you what to do, but their subtle rules and silent demands shaped your every move. You might have adjusted your behavior, your choices, and even your values just to keep things smooth with them. But what happens when you finally decide to stop playing by their rules? When you stop adhering to someone else's hidden agenda or manipulation, they may start to distance themselves from you. This is actually a positive sign. It means you've broken free from the control or manipulation they exerted over you. By choosing not to play by their rules, you are asserting your independence and reclaiming your own power. While this may cause a temporary distance in the relationship, it's also an opportunity for growth and self-empowerment. It's a sign that you are no longer allowing yourself to be a pawn in their game. This can feel uncomfortable, especially if you've been conditioned to please or conform for a long time. But here's the truth. Breaking free from someone else's unspoken rules is one of the most freeing things you can do for yourself. Recognize it as a sign of growth and strength. Trust that your true self will attract the relationships that are meant for you. Those that are based on mutual understanding, respect, and authenticity. If someone pulls away because you no longer fit into their unspoken mold, that's their loss. You are now free to live and interact in a way that aligns with your true values. Imagine today, instead of feeling guilty for not conforming to someone else's rules, you embrace the freedom of being yourself. You stopped allowing external expectations to control your actions, and in doing so, you opened up space for relationships that are genuine and empowering. 5. They feel intimidated by your growth. Have you ever noticed that as you start growing, succeeding, or evolving into a better version of yourself, some people in your life start pulling away? At first, it might feel like they're distancing themselves without any clear reason, but the truth is your growth may be triggering something deep within them, something they're not ready to confront. When you start progressing, whether it's in your career, personal life, or emotional growth, it can unintentionally highlight the stagnation of others. Some people, rather than celebrating your success, feel threatened by it. They may pull away because your progress forces them to face their own fears or insecurities. They might feel uncomfortable seeing you evolve, especially if they haven't been able to move forward in the same way. This response isn't about you, it's about them. Your growth acts as a mirror reflecting their own lack of progress or their unaddressed feelings of inadequacy. For example, if you start taking care of your health, achieving your goals, or living a life that aligns with your values, it can make others question why they aren't doing the same. Instead of using that as motivation, some may react by distancing themselves or becoming resentful of your success. But here's the important thing to remember. Their discomfort with your growth is not your problem. You are not responsible for how others react to your progress. When people feel intimidated by your growth, it's an opportunity for them to either rise to the occasion or make the choice to step back. Either way, it's a reflection of their own journey, not yours. So how do you handle people who distance themselves due to your growth? The best thing you can do is continue on your path unaffected by their reactions. Don't dim your light to make others feel comfortable. Embrace your growth and be proud of how far you've come. Knowing that your journey is yours alone to walk, let go of the need for approval from those who are intimidated by your progress. Real friends and supporters will celebrate your success, not shrink away from it. Imagine today, instead of shrinking back or questioning your progress, you stood firm in your growth and kept moving forward. You celebrated every step of your journey, knowing that your evolution will ultimately lead you to people who are ready to grow alongside you. 6. You've exposed their true nature. Have you ever stopped tolerating someone's bad behavior, whether it was dishonesty, manipulation, or selfishness, and suddenly noticed they started distancing themselves from you? When you stop allowing them to treat you poorly or manipulate you, it forces them to reveal who they really are. Those who thrive on deceit, dishonesty, or controlling others can't maintain their facade when they're faced with someone who refuses to play along. And that's when they start pulling away. It's not that you've done anything wrong, it's that you've disrupted their game. This is a crucial moment in your personal growth by setting boundaries and refusing to tolerate negative behavior. You are not only protecting yourself, but also giving yourself the freedom to build relationships based on honesty and respect. You've learned to identify when someone is not treating you with the same integrity and compassion that you offer, and you've taken the necessary steps to step away from that negativity. So how do you handle someone who distances themselves after their true nature has been exposed? First, take a moment to realize that this is not a loss, it's a blessing. The people who are no longer in your life were never contributing to your well-being in a meaningful way. When someone reveals their true character through their actions, it's a clear indication that it's time to move on and make space for healthier, more genuine relationships. Imagine today, instead of feeling hurt or confused when someone pulls away, you recognize that their departure is a necessary part of your journey. You've removed a toxic influence from your life, and in doing so, you've made room for relationships that are based on trust and mutual respect. 7. It's a blessing in disguise. Have you ever felt rejected when someone suddenly starts ignoring you or pulling away? It's a painful experience, and the emotional sting can feel like a personal attack, leaving you wondering what went wrong. But what if I told you that being ignored or pushed away by certain people might actually be a blessing in disguise? It is easy to assume that being ignored means you are unimportant or not valued, but the reality is often the complete opposite. Sometimes when people begin to distance themselves, it's a clear sign that they were never meant to stay in your life. This distance clears out the emotional clutter and makes room for healthier, more meaningful relationships. Instead of viewing their absence as rejection, see it as life making space for what's truly valuable. Think about it. The relationships that are based on mutual respect, understanding, and authenticity never fade suddenly without cause. This shift can be uncomfortable at first, especially if you are left wondering what you did wrong. But once you accept that their absence creates space for new, more aligned relationships, you'll realize that their exit is actually an opportunity for growth. The universe has a way of removing distractions, leaving you with what truly contributes to your happiness and success. So how do you embrace this blessing in disguise? Begin by letting go of any attachment to the people who have distanced themselves. Recognize that their withdrawal is not a reflection of your worth, but rather a sign that something better is waiting for you. Focus on cultivating the relationships that nourish you, support you, and reflect your values. By doing so, you'll create a space where meaningful connections can flourish. Imagine today, instead of dwelling on the pain of being ignored, you embrace the opportunity it brings. You accepted that sometimes the best thing for your growth is to let go of the connections that no longer serve you, making space for relationships that will enrich your life. 8. They are going through their own struggles. Have you ever wondered if someone is ignoring you because of something you did? It's easy to take it personally, to feel hurt and question your relationship. But here's a crucial insight. Sometimes when people start pulling away, it has less to do with you and more to do with what they are experiencing in their own lives. People go through personal struggles, whether it's emotional turmoil, stress, or mental health challenges that can make them withdraw from others in these moments. They may not have the capacity to connect with you the way they normally would. It's not that they don't care about you, but rather that they're battling something within themselves that's taking up all their energy and focus. Their withdrawal isn't a reflection of their feelings towards you, but rather a sign that they are overwhelmed by their own internal struggles. This can be difficult to recognize, especially when you've been used to a certain dynamic or closeness. You might feel rejected or neglected, but what you are really witnessing is their need for space to process what they're going through. Everyone has their battles, and sometimes people need to step back to heal or to find clarity, and that means they may not be emotionally available for you at the moment. So how can you approach this situation with understanding? First, recognize that their distance may not be about you. Instead of internalizing their behavior, give them the space they need. Be patient and compassionate, knowing that their withdrawal is likely temporary. It's important to offer them your support, but also respect their need for time and space to deal with their struggles. Let them know that you are there for them when they're ready, but don't push them to open up if they're not yet in a place to do so. Imagine today, instead of taking their distance personally, you recognized it as a sign that they're going through something difficult. You gave them the space to heal and focused on continuing to nurture your own well-being while they process their struggles. When they're ready, they'll reach out and the relationship will be stronger because you respected their process. 9. They are envious or resentful. Have you ever had someone start to distance themselves from you after you achieved something great or found success in an area of your life they've been struggling with? It's a painful experience, especially when it feels like they've been supportive of you in the past.
But the reality is sometimes when people pull away, it's not because of you. It's because of the envy or resentment they feel towards your progress. Envy is a powerful emotion, and when someone sees you succeeding, especially in areas where they feel stuck or unaccomplished, it can trigger feelings of inadequacy.
The truth is their reaction has more to do with their own internal struggles than anything you've done. When someone is envious, it's often a reflection of their own insecurities or feelings of inadequacy. They may feel like they're falling short in comparison, and rather than confronting those feelings, they project them onto the relationship by distancing themselves. In some cases, they might even try to diminish your achievements or avoid you entirely to protect their own self-esteem. So how do you handle this situation first? Understand that their behavior isn't a reflection of your worth. It's about their own unresolved feelings. It's important not to take their distance personally. You've done nothing wrong by succeeding or growing in your life. The best way to respond is to continue living authentically without dimming your light to make others feel comfortable. At the same time, you can offer empathy if they express their feelings, but don't let their envy dictate how you show up in the world. Imagine today, instead of being hurt by their behavior, you recognize that their distance was rooted in their own struggle with envy. You didn't allow their feelings to affect your confidence or self-worth. Instead, you focused on celebrating your own achievements and continued moving forward with grace, knowing that your success is something you've earned and it doesn't diminish anyone else's potential. 10. They feel insecure around you. Have you ever felt like someone starts ignoring you because of something you did, but then realized it had more to do with how they feel about themselves? It's easy to assume that their behavior is a direct reflection of your actions, But sometimes the truth is that they are simply feeling insecure in your presence. It's not about you at all. It's about their own inner conflict. When people feel insecure around someone who seems more confident, successful, or at ease, they might start distancing themselves as a way to avoid confronting their own feelings of inadequacy. This happens when they compare themselves to you and feel like they don't measure up.
Rather than admitting to these insecurities or taking steps to improve themselves, they might pull away or avoid you to protect their self-esteem. It's easier for them to run from their discomfort than face it directly. This can be especially painful because it might seem like rejection, when in fact it's a defense mechanism on their part.
They're not rejecting you. They're rejecting the mirror. You hold up to them, showing them where they feel insecure or less than. It's as though your presence highlights their own struggles with confidence or self-worth, and instead of dealing with those feelings, they retreat. So how can you handle this situation? The first step is to not take it personally. Their insecurity is something they need to work through on their own, and it's not a reflection of who you are or how much you mean to them. Instead of pushing them to confront their insecurities, give them space. If they're ready to come to terms with their own self-doubt, they'll eventually reach out to you. In the meantime, continue living authentically without feeling guilty for shining brightly. Imagine today, instead of feeling rejected or hurt by their behavior, you recognize that their insecurity is something they need to work through. You didn't dim your light to make them feel more comfortable, but instead you continue to live confidently, knowing that your success doesn't take away from theirs. By doing so, you show them that their insecurities don't affect your value or your place in their life. 11. They simply lost interest. Have you ever experienced someone pulling away, not because of any major conflict, but because it simply feels like their interest in the relationship has faded? It can be hard to accept, especially when you've put time and energy into nurturing the connection. But sometimes relationships shift and people change in ways that no longer align with each other. It is not necessarily personal. It's just a natural part of life. Sometimes people simply lose interest in a relationship. As we grow and evolve, our priorities, values, and interests change. What once felt like a deep connection may no longer feel relevant to the other person, and they begin to drift away without any specific reason. This isn't a reflection of your worth or value. It's simply that as people change, relationships sometimes fall out of sync. Think about it. Relationships, whether they are friendships, romantic connections, or professional bonds, are dynamic. They evolve over time, and not every relationship is meant to last forever. People go through different phases in life, and sometimes those phases don't align with the people they were once close to. When someone loses interest, it's often because they are heading in a different direction, or perhaps they found new connections that better match where they are in life. This doesn't make the experience any less painful. It's normal to feel hurt when someone's interest fades, but it's important to recognize that not every relationship is meant to be permanent. This shift can feel like rejection, but it's simply a sign that life is changing, and sometimes people naturally grow apart. So how can you handle this situation? The best approach is to let go gracefully. Instead of chasing after someone who's lost interest, allow the relationship to naturally fade. Focus on the relationships that still bring you joy, growth, and connection. Recognize that sometimes the right people will leave your life to make space for those who truly align with your values and where you are headed. Imagine today, instead of feeling hurt or rejected by someone who's lost interest, you embrace the idea that relationships evolve and not all of them are meant to last forever. By doing so, you create space for new, more fulfilling connections to enter your life, and you honor the natural flow of relationships. 12. They're seeking space for self-reflection. Have you ever had someone start ignoring you? Not because of anything you've done wrong, but because they need space to focus on themselves. At first, it can feel like rejection or confusion. Why would they pull away when everything seemed fine? The truth is, sometimes people need distance to reflect, recharge, or work through personal issues that have nothing to do with you. Taking time for self-reflection is essential for personal growth. People go through phases where they need to pause, reevaluate their lives, or simply reconnect with themselves. It's not always easy to admit, but sometimes a person's withdrawal is a sign that they are seeking clarity, peace, or understanding within themselves. They might be dealing with inner turmoil, personal dilemmas, or simply feeling overwhelmed by the demands of life. Rather than burdening others with their struggles, they retreat to reflect and figure things out on their own. This isn't a reflection of your worth or their feelings towards you. It's about their need for space to process what's going on inside. Just as we all need time to reset mentally and emotionally. Some people feel the need to step back from their relationships to reflect on their own growth or address personal challenges. So how can you handle this situation with compassion first? Understand that their need for space is likely a sign of self-care, not a rejection of you. Allow them the time and space they need and trust that they will reach out when they are ready. Don't take their withdrawal personally. Instead, respect their boundaries and focus on your own well-being. It's essential to recognize that giving someone space to reflect is a healthy boundary, not just for them, but for the relationship as a whole. Imagine today, instead of feeling hurt by their need for space, you embraced it as a positive opportunity for them to grow. You recognize that relationships thrive on mutual respect, and giving them the space to reflect ultimately strengthens the connection you share when they are ready to return with clarity. 13. They've moved on. Have you ever felt like someone you were once close to has just moved on one day? They're engaged and involved in your life, and the next, they seem distant or completely uninterested. It can feel like a gut punch, almost like you were forgotten. But sometimes people move on simply because their lives have changed, and so has their connection to you. Life is constantly changing. We all evolve, and so do our interests, goals, and relationships. People grow, move to new places, start new jobs, or get involved in new circles as we change. So do our connections. Relationships that once felt significant may no longer align with where we are in life. It's not about you or anything you've done, it's just that the relationship has naturally run its course as their journey shifts. This doesn't mean that the time you spent together was any less valuable. The experiences you shared were meaningful, but sometimes people outgrow each other. Just like you may evolve and meet new people who align with your current path, so do they. It's a part of life. Sometimes relationships fade because they were meant to be temporary, teaching us something important before moving on. So how do you cope when someone moves on? First, understand that it's natural for relationships to shift instead of feeling hurt or rejected. Celebrate the good moments you shared. Appreciate the lessons, the growth, and the memories, and as hard as it may be, give yourself permission to move forward as well. Don't hold on to something that's no longer in harmony with your life. Instead, focus on the relationships that are still growing, still aligned with your values, and still supporting your journey. Imagine today, instead of feeling abandoned or upset that someone has moved on, you embrace the natural flow of life and relationships. You recognize that their departure opens the door for new, more aligned connections to enter your life, and you focused on building relationships that nurture and uplift you. In this next chapter, as we've explored today, when people start ignoring you or pulling away, it's not always about something you've done wrong. In fact, it's often more about their own struggles, growth, or shifts in their life that are beyond your control. Whether it's a test of your reaction, a reflection of their own insecurities, or simply the result of evolving interests. The truth is that relationships change and people move in and out of your life for many reasons. What's important is how you respond. Instead of internalizing their behavior as a rejection, understand it as an opportunity to grow, reassess, and focus on the relationships that truly nourish you. Some people leave to make space for others who are aligned with your current journey, and that's a blessing in disguise. Remember, you don't have to chase after anyone who pulls away. Those who are meant to be in your life will stay. Focus on the relationships that bring you peace, support, and positivity. Let go of the rest, knowing that you deserve connections, built on mutual respect and trust. The question isn't about why people ignore you. At the intersection of the old year and the new, we are often busy with lengthy lists of ambitious goals and new habits we aspire to adopt into our lives. However, those with a deeper understanding of transformation will recognize that the true secret of change does not lie entirely in adding more, but in letting go. This is what the Stoic philosopher Seneca emphasized. Not everything is difficult because we don't dare to do it, but we don't dare to do it because it is difficult. It is the barriers we create for ourselves that hinder our journey toward becoming the best version of who we are. Stoic philosophy is not just about building a good life. It also focuses on freeing ourselves from mental, emotional, and negative habitual burdens. To live a fulfilling and virtuous life, we must have the courage to confront and let go of what holds us back. In this video, we will explore 14 habits you must let go of to make 2025 the most remarkable year of your life, inspired by the profound principles of Stoicism. It wraps us in the cocoon of familiarity, lulling us into believing that ease is synonymous with happiness. Yet, as the Stoic philosophers taught, true fulfillment does not come from avoiding challenges, but from confronting them head-on. Marcus Aurelius once reminded us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. When we choose comfort over challenge, we relinquish that power, allowing stagnation to take root in our lives. Imagine a weekend spent binge-watching television shows curled up under a blanket with a plate of snacks beside you. This is the epitome of comfort. While there is nothing inherently wrong with relaxation, overindulging in such habits can lead to dissatisfaction. The mind, when deprived of meaningful engagement, begins to wander, and a subtle sense of restlessness emerges. This is the body's way of signaling that growth has been neglected. Growth thrives in discomfort, much like muscles become stronger through resistance. A concrete example is learning a new skill such as swimming. For someone afraid of water, stepping into the pool for the first time can be an overwhelming experience. The sensation of water enveloping the body, the fear of sinking, and the vulnerability of not knowing what to do make the challenge daunting. But through persistence, embracing the cold water, trusting the instructor, and repeating floating exercises, confidence gradually builds. The joy of overcoming fear far outweighs the initial discomfort in life. Challenges, whether physical, emotional, or intellectual, are the rungs of the ladder to growth. The Stoics believed that adversity is not something to fear, but a tool for transformation. By stepping out of our comfort zones, we cultivate resilience and unlock our inner potential. Excessive comfort can feel like a refuge, but it is a deceptive one. Only by embracing discomfort can we truly make 2025 or any year the best year of our lives. Habit number 2, complaining. Complaining is an easy trap to fall into, but its consequences run deeper than we often realize. Every complaint, whether spoken aloud or simmering silently in our minds, drains our mental and emotional energy. Rather than addressing the root of the problem, complaining allows negativity to fester, creating a cycle of dissatisfaction that clouds our ability to think clearly and act decisively. To illustrate this, consider the story of Helen Keller, a woman who overcame the profound challenges of being both deaf and blind, despite facing a world that could have left her isolated and bitter. Keller refused to let her circumstances define her. Instead of lamenting what she lacked, she embraced learning with the help of her teacher Anne Sullivan, and went on to become an author, activist, and symbol of resilience. Keller once remarked, "Although the world is full of suffering, it is full also of the overcoming of it." Her life exemplifies how a proactive mindset can transform adversity into a foundation for growth and inspiration, showing us that complaining only diminishes our ability to see opportunities for action and change. Adopting a proactive mindset does not mean ignoring problems. It means approaching them constructively. The next time you feel the urge to complain, pause and ask yourself, what can I do to improve this situation? Whether it's finding a solution or simply adjusting your perspective. This shift in focus turns problems into challenges that fuel growth instead of obstacles that breed despair. When we abandon the habit of complaining, a stronger version of ourselves begins to emerge. However, another dangerous habit often accompanies complaining: the tendency to constantly judge others. What happens when we focus less on solutions and more on how others fail to meet our standards? This is where judgment creeps in. Subtle but powerful. It's a habit that can poison relationships, breed resentment, and distract us from our own progress. But is there a better way? A way to rise above the noise of relentless judgment? Let us explore this further habit. Number 3, constant judgment. Have you ever found yourself trapped in an endless cycle of judgment, categorizing people, actions, or situations as good or bad, right or wrong? While this may seem like control, it is not. Constant judgment consumes an extraordinary amount of energy, clouds your awareness, and erects walls between you and reality. In this mental chaos, clarity and calm become distant dreams. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most revered Stoic philosophers, wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control." His wisdom reminds us that judgment is often a self-imposed burden, one that saps our strength and blinds us to the true nature of things. Imagine heading to work in the morning amidst heavy traffic. You are running late. Every driver seems rude, and the world feels like it's conspiring against you. Judgment sparks frustration. Why can't people drive properly? Or, this city is such a mess. This spiral compounds your stress, isolating you in anger. Now picture observing the same scenario without judgment. You notice the blaring horns, the slow pace, and even your own impatience, but you resist labeling the experience as bad. Gaining deeper insights into the fleeting nature of thoughts and emotions. Such discipline allows us to navigate life calmly, even in challenging situations. Through this lens, the habit of constant judgment is revealed as an obstacle to clarity and serenity. Letting go of it not only reduces emotional turmoil, but also opens the door to a deeper understanding of reality. Continuous judgment is not a shield, but a chain. To truly live a life of clarity and calm in 2025, abandon this habit. Observe the world as it is without rushing to label it. Within this space of non-judgment lies your freedom, strength, and peace. Habit number 4, the illusion of knowing everything. On the grand journey of life, the illusion that you know everything is one of the most dangerous traps of the human mind. The intellectual ego, a subtle whisper that says you already know it all, is not only a sign of overconfidence, but also a wall that blocks the path to learning, growth, and fulfillment. At the core of Stoic philosophy lies intellectual humility and the cultivation of a beginner's mindset. The most powerful antidote to this illusion. Imagine an experienced expert attending a seminar. During the discussion, someone presents a groundbreaking idea. Instead of listening attentively, the expert dismisses it internally, thinking, "I've heard this before. What could they possibly teach me?" This is the illusion of knowing it all at work. By clinging to the knowledge they perceive as perfect, they miss the opportunity to expand their understanding and explore new possibilities. This scenario famously played out in the life of Charles Darwin. Despite his revolutionary contributions to science, Darwin maintained a deep intellectual humility. He once remarked, "Ignorance more frequently begets confidence than does knowledge," even as one of history's greatest thinkers. Darwin constantly challenged his own assumptions and remained open to new perspectives. As the Stoics would argue, true strength lies not in asserting dominance through knowledge, but in understanding that we are always students of life. As you prepare for 2025, ask yourself, what assumptions are holding me back and limiting my personal growth? What would happen if I embraced each day with the curiosity of a beginner? Share your thoughts in the comments. What strategies have helped you overcome the illusion of knowing it all? Together, we can embark on a journey of humility and lifelong learning. Habit number 5, lack of self-control. Imagine a moment filled with emotional chaos, a heated argument, spiraling out of control, fueled by anger you cannot contain. Or perhaps it's the allure of fleeting desires, an unnecessary shopping spree, an evening wasted scrolling mindlessly on your phone. These impulses, seemingly harmless at first, gradually erode the most precious thing you possess, your freedom. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. At its core, a lack of self-control is the surrender of that power, allowing unchecked emotions and desires to dictate your life. Self-control isn't merely about suppressing anger or resisting temptation. It's the practice of mastering yourself to act in alignment with your deeper values. Without self-control, you become a prisoner of external forces, bound by fleeting pleasures and reactive emotions. This state not only undermines your goals, but also disrupts inner peace. The Stoics believed that true freedom comes from within, and it begins with self-mastery. So, for example, the story of James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. In his youth, Clear suffered a severe head injury that upended his life and ambitions. Instead of succumbing to frustration or self-pity, he built habits centered on small, consistent efforts. By mastering his emotions and focusing on long-term progress, Clear transformed his life and achieved extraordinary success. His journey underscores a Stoic principle. Self-control is the foundation of a meaningful and fulfilling life. Now think about your own life. How often have you let anger dictate your words or desires, pull you away from your goals? Stoic philosophy urges us to pause, reflect, and act deliberately. Mastering oneself doesn't mean denying emotions, but guiding them wisely. As you practice this, you reclaim autonomy and nurture an unshakable inner peace to make 2025 a year of transformation. Resolve to confront the silent adversary of self-control. By mastering yourself, you not only break free from the chains of impulsiveness, but also live a life aligned with your highest values, a life of freedom, strength, and tranquility. Habit number 6, giving less than your best effort. Mediocrity is a silent thief. It does not boldly announce its presence, nor does it barge into your life. Instead, it creeps in bit by bit. In every moment, we choose to accept less than our best. The consistent failure to give our utmost effort, even in the smallest tasks, accumulates over time, leading to a life that falls short of its inherent potential. In those moments when we accept good enough, we inadvertently forfeit the greatness we are entirely capable of achieving. Imagine this: you are participating in a group project at work. The deadline is approaching, and instead of striving to contribute creative ideas, you opt to do just the bare minimum, enough to avoid criticism, but not enough to inspire. What is the result? A lackluster presentation, unimpressed stakeholders, and missed opportunities for both you and your team. Now compare this to a scenario where you give your all, researching ideas late into the night, motivating your teammates, and refining the final product until it's as good as it can be. The outcome may not be perfect, but the pride and growth you gain from the effort will transform your life. One path leads to mediocrity. The other builds character. In Stoic philosophy, striving for excellence is not about achieving perfection, but about consistently showing up as the best version of yourself. It means acting in alignment with your values and finding pride in the effort, not just the outcome. When you commit wholeheartedly to everything you do, whether it's your career, relationships, or personal goals, you develop resilience, discipline, and a profound sense of purpose. This dedication not only elevates the quality of your work, but also transforms who you are as a person as 2025 approaches. Take a moment to reflect on the areas of your life where mediocrity may have crept in. What would happen if you approached every task with maximum focus and effort? True fulfillment doesn't come from external rewards, but from knowing you've done your very best. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What areas of your life could benefit from a renewed commitment to excellence? Share your insights, and let's discuss how we can make 2025 the best year yet. Habit number 7, negative creativity. Have you ever wondered why your efforts don't yield the desired results? Mediocrity is not an unexpected destination, but the consequence of continuously underperforming. Sadly, negative creativity, though seemingly harmless, is one of the deepest roots of this stagnation. Negative creativity manifests in many forms: excessive worry about things that haven't happened, magnifying minor mistakes into major disasters, or spending hours justifying failures instead of learning from them, for instance. A businessman once shared that instead of focusing on improving his product, he spent too much time coming up with reasons why customers didn't return. He blamed the market and competitors, never looking at the shortcomings in his operations. It wasn't until he realized he was trapped in a cycle of negative thinking that he decided to change and improve himself. As a result, his business soon flourished. Stoic philosophy reminds us you become what you repeatedly do. Therefore, if you want to overcome mediocrity, you must immediately stop negative creative habits and replace them with actions aimed at excellence. Focus on doing the small things to the best of your ability, as they are the foundation of character and will help you unlock your full potential. We want to express our gratitude and congratulations to you for making it halfway through today's video. Your presence here is not just our pleasure, but also proof that you are fully ready for the journey of self-transformation. Take a moment to pause and appreciate yourself for your efforts. Now, as we step into the next part of the journey, shift your attention to the following behavior. Releasing emotional baggage. Letting go of emotional burdens will be the key to stepping into 2025 with a light heart and abundant energy habit. Number 8. Releasing emotional baggage in life. Carrying the burden of past mistakes or resentments is like dragging an anchor while trying to move forward. It drains energy, clouds judgment, and traps us in a cycle of regret. The Stoic philosophers teach that true freedom comes from emotional liberation, not by forgetting the past, but by reinterpreting its meaning. Consider the story of Sarah, a woman weighed down by guilt over her role in the dissolution of a business partnership for years. She harbored resentment toward her former partner, endlessly replaying the painful moments when trust was broken. This emotional burden not only hindered her ability to start anew, but also negatively affected her relationships and health. Inspired by Stoic philosophy, she began to reinterpret the events. Instead of focusing on the betrayal, she sought the hidden lessons in the experience. She realized that she had learned resilience, prudence, and the value of clear communication. Through journaling and moments of quiet reflection, she released her anger and resentment, transforming them into clarity. Freed from the past, Sarah was finally able to rebuild her career with compassion and insight. Practicing emotional liberation does not mean denying the pain we have endured, but choosing to rewrite its meaning. By letting go of resentment, we free ourselves to see things more clearly. Relationships deepen as compassion replaces bitterness, and our decisions align more closely with the person we aspire to become. The power of emotional release lies in its ability to clear the mental clutter, creating space for new growth. When we let go of the weight of the past, we build a stronger foundation for the life we desire. By reinterpreting and releasing, we turn pain into purpose, crafting the best version of ourselves for the year ahead. Habit number 9. Focus on the process, not goals. In the relentless race to achieve success, many of us often become obsessed with results, measuring our self-worth by accomplishments or milestones achieved. However, this obsession with results often leaves us feeling dissatisfied even after reaching our goals. Why is that? Because the satisfaction of achieving a goal is fleeting, and the question "what's next?" quickly emerges. As Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." When we focus solely on results, we surrender our freedom to external circumstances, tying our happiness to fleeting things. Imagine a businesswoman pouring her heart into building her company. If she evaluates success solely by hitting a specific revenue target, she might overlook the value of late night spent problem solving, the resilience cultivated through failures, or the relationships forged along the way. She would miss the true rewards of the journey of growth, learning, and self-discovery. A real-life example of this shift in perspective comes from Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian in history. Despite his remarkable success, Phelps admitted to feeling empty after achieving his Olympic dream. His turning point came when he shifted his mindset from chasing gold medals to focusing on the process, the training, discipline, and love for swimming. This change not only reignited his passion, but also helped him find lasting happiness beyond the spotlight of victory. In Stoic philosophy, the process is where we grow. It is the small daily actions that shape our character and build resilience. By embracing the process, we free ourselves from anxiety about outcomes and discover joy in becoming the best version of ourselves. Ask yourself, are you chasing the finish line, or are you growing with each step of the journey? Share your thoughts. How can focusing on the process transform your approach to life in 2025? Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your perspective. Habit number 10, avoid the immediate availability trap. In a world overwhelmed by constant connectivity, responding to every notification, email, or call seems almost irresistible. However, this whirlwind of urgency not only depletes our mental energy, but also robs us of the ability to live intentionally. When we prioritize the urgent over what is truly important, we fall into the trap of being perpetually available. A never-ending race for immediate results, leaving us trapped in distraction and dissatisfaction to make 2025 a meaningful year. Breaking free from this trap is essential. Imagine a young man, James, starting his day with a meticulously planned to-do list. Yet as soon as he opens his email, he is overwhelmed by a flood of urgent requests from colleagues and clients. His carefully planned priorities quickly collapse under the pressure of immediate demands. By the end of the day, James is exhausted, but the most important tasks, strategizing for an upcoming presentation, reflecting on his career goals, or spending time with family, remain unfinished. James' story reflects the reality many of us face. The allure of instant responsiveness and perpetual availability creates the illusion of productivity. Rather than letting urgency dominate our lives to escape the trap of being perpetually available, we must learn to resist distractions and say yes to a purposeful way of living. This requires setting boundaries and dedicating uninterrupted time for deep work and rest. More importantly, we should ask ourselves, will this still matter tomorrow, next week, or next year? Truly important tasks often require patience and focus, while merely urgent ones only feed fleeting anxiety. By prioritizing what is important over what is immediate, we not only reclaim our time, but also regain clarity and purpose in life. Let 2025 be the year you stop living reactively in the grip of urgency and start creating a life that truly reflects your will and intentions. Habit number 11. Serve without seeking recognition, motivation derived from others. Recognition is like a flame that easily extinguishes. It burns brightly when praised, but quickly fades when it no longer receives attention. Stoic philosophy reminds us that acting for intrinsic values, rather than seeking external approval, is the path to freedom and peace when we live for the judgment of others. Every criticism feels like an arrow to the heart, and the silence of the crowd turns into an echo of insecurity. However, when we serve a higher purpose, kindness, dedication, or the work itself, the greatest reward isn't applause, but an inner sense of fulfillment. Take, for example, the story of Katherine Johnson, a brilliant NASA mathematician who made significant contributions to the success of space missions like Apollo 11. Throughout her career, Katherine didn't seek the spotlight despite her crucial role. She worked with dedication not for praise, but because she believed in the value of her work. It was only many years later that the world began to recognize her contributions. Yet this delayed recognition didn't diminish Katherine's legacy, because her greatness didn't lie in trophies or titles, but in the work she accomplished with honesty and passion. Ask yourself, are you working to prove something to the world, or are you acting to stay true to your values? True freedom doesn't come from the approval of others, but from finding joy in the journey, not just the destination. To maintain focus on core values, your environment plays a more critical role than you might think. A cluttered room can lead to a cluttered mind. A space filled with negativity can easily pull you away from inner balance. So how do you create a physical and mental environment that fosters growth? That's what we'll explore in the next. Habit number 12, curate your environment. Imagine stepping into a room filled with noise, overlapping voices, and the weight of expectations pressing in from all sides. Everything in the room feels disconnected from who you are. The energy is stifling and every action you take seems subject to judgment. Life can feel like this when we allow our environment, both physical and social, to be dictated by the need for external validation, actions driven by a desire for external approval, or attempts to meet standards that conflict with our values bring only unnecessary suffering. The world initially expected her to keep competing to win for national pride and public admiration. Yet she made a conscious decision, to craft her environment by choosing peace and reflection over the noise of expectations. In doing so, she found the freedom to heal and rediscover her purpose, not as an athlete bound by others' recognition, but as a person living according to her own values. Her courage sent a powerful message. Greatness is not measured by medals, but by the strength to uphold one's integrity. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." This principle underscores the importance of shaping our environment. When you actively curate relationships, spaces, and goals that nurture your character, you liberate yourself from the chains of societal pressure. Instead of chasing applause or approval, you create a sanctuary where growth thrives. As 2025 begins, ask yourself, does your environment reflect your true self? If not, it's time to let go of what no longer serves you. Build a space, both physical and mental, where integrity flourishes and the only recognition that matters is your own habit. Number 13. Daily discipline. Over grand achievements, many people become engrossed in pursuing grand achievements, forgetting that it is the small, consistent efforts made daily that form the true foundation of success. Stoic philosophy reminds us that instead of obsessing over the destination, we should focus on the journey guided by daily discipline. Discipline is not a one-time act meant to impress. It is a habit cultivated through small, repeated actions. It is how you live, not just what you do. Imagine someone wanting to learn how to play the piano initially. They feel excited and set high goals, dedicating an entire week to intense practice. However, after just a few days, they become discouraged by the lack of visible progress and eventually give up. Conversely, if they choose a slow but steady approach, practicing for just 15 minutes a day, regardless of their mood, they will see significant improvement after a year. This method not only enhances their piano playing skills, but also builds resilience and self-belief. A real-world example of the power of daily discipline is the story of James Clear, author of Atomic Habits. When he started blogging, he didn't set grandiose goals, but simply committed to writing one post per week. Over time, not only did his content improve, but his writing skills also advanced significantly. This small habit laid the foundation for a thriving career, inspiring millions of people worldwide. The lesson here is that progress doesn't come from explosive bursts of effort, but from small, consistent steps repeated over time. Start with small but regular habits. While the results may not be immediately apparent, Over time, they will lead to remarkable achievements. So are you applying this principle in your life, or are you still drawn to the empty promises of quick success? Daily discipline teaches us that patience and commitment not only builds skills, but also strengthen inner resilience, a quality that helps you face any challenge life throws your way. What small step can you take today to move closer to your goals? Share your thoughts in the comments so we can inspire and learn from one another. Habit number 14, combat procrastination. We often tell ourselves that we will act when the perfect time comes, when work is less busy, when we have enough skills, or when we feel ready. But the perfect time doesn't exist. It's merely an illusion, a subtle mental trap to justify procrastination. Stoic philosophy reminds us that action, not waiting, is the true tool to move life forward. Think of Steve's story, a young entrepreneur who delayed starting his business project because he believed he needed more experience. For 2 years, Steve quietly planned, researched, and waited for the perfect time to begin. But when an unexpected economic crisis struck, the market he intended to target gradually shifted and his idea lost its viability. Steve realized that if he had acted from the start, taking small steps, such as testing his product or exploring the market, he might have gained momentum, clarity, and perhaps even success. The magic of action lies in its ability to create clarity. A book project can begin with writing 1 page a day. A health goal can start with a 10-minute walk. Small steps not only bring you closer to your goal, but also break the cycle of procrastination, putting you back in control. A man who believes he is in control of everything will eventually be reminded that he is not. Strength does not come from arrogance. It comes from preparing for what cannot be avoided. Every man will face a moment where life breaks him, not if, but when. Those who believe they are immune to hardship are the ones who suffer the most when it arrives. The man who never anticipates failure is the man who collapses under it. This is why Stoicism does not teach avoidance of hardship. It teaches preparation for it. The man who expects suffering is never surprised by it. He is not destroyed by loss, betrayal, or failure because he has already trained himself to endure. Life does not care about how powerful a man feels in his best moments. It does not care about his confidence when everything is going well. It does not care how much he has achieved or how respected he is. At some point, it will strip everything away. It'll test his limits. It'll show him how little control he truly has over external events. A man who is arrogant in his strength will be crushed by his own illusion of invincibility. A man who's wise enough to prepare for his own downfall will survive it. Many men walk through life assuming their position is permanent. They believe success is their right, that stability will last forever, that their health status or relationships will remain untouched. They make the fatal mistake of thinking that they have finally made it, and then life happens. A sudden financial collapse, a betrayal from someone they trusted, a loss they never saw coming. The strongest men are not the ones who avoid these moments. They are the ones who expect them. Humility is not weakness. It is understanding that life does not owe anything to anyone. The man who prepares for hardship is the man who builds himself to withstand it. This is why Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort. They trained themselves to go without luxury, to endure physical hardship, to live simply even when abundance was available. They did not do this because they enjoyed suffering. They did it because they knew that suffering was inevitable. A man who has already faced difficulty by choice is unshaken. When difficulty arrives by force, a man who believes he is too powerful to fall is already halfway to his downfall. Arrogance blinds him. It makes him overconfident. It makes him take risks without preparation. It makes him neglect discipline because he assumes he no longer needs it. And then when the fall comes, he has no foundation to catch himself. The man who expects to fall, who trains himself for loss, who prepares his mind for struggle, he may stumble, but he will never break. Loss is a guarantee in life. It is not something to fear, but something to understand. A man who avoids thinking about it is the man who will be shattered when it comes. Stoicism does not teach pessimism. It does not say to live in fear of misfortune. It teaches awareness to recognize that everything you have today can be gone tomorrow, and to live in a way where you are ready for that reality. Many men assume that wealth, love, and success are permanent. Once they have them, they believe they will always be respected, that their relationships will always be strong, that their position in life is secure, but everything is temporary. Fortune shifts, love fades, status is lost. The question is not whether a man will experience loss, but whether he will be prepared when it happens. A weak man believes that hardship is unfair. He sees suffering as something that happens to others, not something that is a natural part of life. When difficulty arrives, he panics. He feels like a victim. He blames the world, the economy, other people, anything but himself. A strong man understands that suffering is inevitable, and the only thing he controls is how he responds to it. Stoicism teaches premed malorum, the practice of contemplating worst-case scenarios. This is not meant to create fear, it is meant to remove fear. A man who has already envisioned loss is not afraid. When it comes, he has rehearsed it in his mind. He has accepted it as part of life. He does not waste energy on shock, denial, or despair. He focuses on what he can do next. Those who prepare for hardship are not pessimists. They are realists. They understand that no man, no matter how powerful, is beyond suffering. The Emperor Marcus Aurelius ruled the greatest empire of his time. Yet he constantly reminded himself of his mortality, of the impermanence of wealth, of the certainty of struggle. He did not see himself as above misfortune. He saw himself as prepared for it. Most men learn this lesson too late. They spend their best years indulging in comfort, assuming that life will always be kind. They take success for granted. They assume loyalty is guaranteed. They think their strength is permanent, and when the fall comes, they have no idea how to handle it. They break because they never built the resilience to withstand it. A man who prepares for hardship is never caught off guard. He does not assume that anything he has is his forever. He does not take his position for granted. He remains humble, disciplined, and aware that everything can change at any moment. This mindset does not make him fearful. It makes him invincible. He may suffer loss, but he will never lose himself. Most men will spend their lives believing that they are immune to failure until they are forced to face it. But the man who prepares for the fall before it comes is the man who will always rise again. He does not resist reality. He does not complain about misfortune. He accepts life as it is, not as he wishes it to be, and because of that, he is never truly defeated. A man who prepares for hardship does not seek comfort in illusions. He does not waste time trying to protect himself from the inevitable. He understands that security is not real. It is something people create in their minds to feel safe, but safety is never guaranteed. The belief that life can be controlled is what makes men weak. They build their entire existence around stability, only to realize too late that everything they relied on can disappear in an instant. Most men chase security as if it is something they can earn and hold on to. They believe that if they work hard enough, save enough money, or find the right partner, they will finally be safe. They assume that stability is a reward for doing everything correctly, But life does not work that way. Jobs disappear. Markets crash. People change. The only certainty in life is that nothing stays the same. A man who expects security will always be disappointed. He will build his life around guarantees that do not exist. He will choose safety over growth, comfort over challenge, and predictability over risk. He will avoid anything that threatens his sense of control, and because of this, he will live in constant fear. A man who does not embrace uncertainty is a man who is always waiting for disaster to strike. Stoicism does not teach a man to hope for security. It teaches him to embrace the unpredictable nature of life. The world is chaotic. Things happen without warning. A strong man does not resist this. He adapts to it. He does not depend on stability because he knows it is temporary. He does not panic when things change because he expects it. He is not caught off guard by loss because he never assumed anything was permanent in the first place. Most men go through life thinking that if they just reach a certain level of success, they will be safe. If they earn enough money, they will never struggle. If they find the right woman, they will never be alone. If they build a stable career, they will never have to worry about the future. But this mindset is built on fragile foundations. It assumes that stability is something that can be earned rather than something that can be taken away at any moment. A man who relies on external stability is weak. He is dependent on circumstances beyond his control. When things go well, he feels powerful. When things fall apart, he feels helpless. His confidence is not real. It is an illusion that disappears the moment his security is threatened. A man who builds his sense of strength on things that can be lost has no real strength at all. The world respects those who are unshaken by uncertainty. A man who is not afraid of losing what he has cannot be manipulated. He cannot be controlled by fear. He does not make decisions based on security. He makes decisions based on what is right, what is necessary, and what aligns with his principles. This is why Stoicism teaches detachment from external outcomes. It is not about being careless. It is about refusing to let temporary circumstances dictate one's inner stability. A man who understands this truth does not hesitate to take risks. He does not need a guarantee of success before he acts. He does not waste years waiting for the perfect conditions to pursue what he wants. He moves forward knowing that uncertainty is part of life. Most men wait. They postpone their goals, their ambitions, and their dreams because they want certainty. They want proof that they will not fail. But in waiting for security, they waste their most valuable resource, time. Fear of uncertainty keeps men trapped in mediocrity. They choose safe jobs they do not enjoy. They stay in relationships that no longer serve them. They hold on to routines that drain them all because they fear the unknown more than they fear a life of quiet misery. They convince themselves that predictability is better than possibility, even if it means never living fully. A man who is not afraid of losing everything is a man who is truly free. He does not cling to wealth because he knows it can disappear. He does not build his life around another person because he knows people change. He does not depend on a job to define him because he knows careers are temporary. He is prepared to walk away from anything that no longer serves him. And because of this, he is never trapped. Many men believe that living without security means living recklessly, but the opposite is true. The man who accepts uncertainty is the man who makes the smartest decisions. He is not blinded by comfort. He doesn't make choices out of fear. He doesn't waste time building a false sense of control. He focuses on what he can control: his mind, his actions, and his resilience. Stoicism teaches that the only real security is inner strength. No external factor can provide true stability. The world is unpredictable. A man who places his peace in things outside himself will always be at risk of losing it. But a man who has trained himself to handle uncertainty, who has prepared his mind for chaos and instability, can face any challenge without breaking. Most men will never understand this. They will spend their lives chasing stability, only to realize too late that it does not exist. Have you ever felt trapped in your own life? The days rush by, work pressures, expectations from others, endless worries piling up. You try to hold everything together to stay in control, but the tighter your grip, the further peace seems to slip away. Your mind spins in circles, replaying the same anxious thoughts, and happiness feels like something just out of reach, always slipping through your fingers. But what if there was another way? What if instead of being swept up in the chaos, you could step back and see everything with a calm, unshakable clarity? What if you could let go of what you can't control, face challenges with quiet strength, and free yourself from the endless tug-of-war with your emotions? This isn't just an ideal, it's the way of the Stoics. True peace doesn't come from controlling the world around you. It comes from mastering the way you respond to it. And today we're going to explore how you can do just that. Let's get started. Number 1, control your mind. Have you ever felt like you were caught in a storm with no way out? A single criticism lingers in your mind, ruining your entire day. An unanswered message sends you spiraling, overthinking a dozen worst-case scenarios. One small failure snowballs into a flood of negativity, making you feel as if the whole world is against you. But let me tell you a truth that few people realize. That storm isn't outside of you. It's inside your mind, and if you learn to control it, you'll find something you've been searching for your entire life. Inner peace. I used to be a slave to my own mind. If someone insulted me, I got angry. If things didn't go my way, I felt defeated. I lived like a tiny boat in the ocean, tossed around by the waves, never realizing that I could take control of the wheel. Then one day I came across a quote from Epictetus that changed everything. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. That hit me like a slap in the face. No one could actually make me angry or hurt me. They simply acted or spoke as they wished, but my emotions, that was my choice. I realized it wasn't the world making me suffer. It was how I interpreted the world. From that moment on, I started practicing one simple principle that changed my life. Observe your mind instead of letting it control you. Try this. Close your eyes and imagine someone saying something that upsets you. You feel the anger rising, don't you? Now, instead of letting it explode, pause and ask yourself, is it really their words that hurt me, or is it my own thoughts about their words? Then ask yourself, can I control my reaction? And is there another way to see this situation? You will realize that emotions don't happen to you. They are created by you. If you change how you think, you change how you feel. And when you control how you feel, you take control of your life. Imagine you are holding a burning coal in your hand. You are angry, you are in pain, yet you refuse to let go. You think gripping it tightly will hurt the other person. But the only one getting burned is you. Negative. Emotions work the same way we cling to them. Anger, hurt, anxiety, as if they're a part of us. But if you learn to control your mind, you can release them all, and that is true freedom. Once you stop searching for peace outside and start cultivating it within, no one will ever have the power to hurt you again. So how do you practice this? First, learn to observe your thoughts. When emotions surge, don't react instantly. Step back, detach yourself, and watch them as if they don't belong to you. Next, recognize that you are not your emotions. Anger, anxiety, sadness. They don't define you. They're just passing waves on the surface of the ocean. Once you see this, you can control your reactions when faced with negativity. Ask yourself, can I respond differently? And finally, remember, nothing can hurt you unless you allow it to. What others say or do only affects you if you give it permission to. You don't need to change the world to find peace. You don't need to control everything around you to be happy. Peace doesn't come from the outside. It comes from how you see the world, like the eye of a storm, calm, steady, unaffected by the raging winds of life. You can be the eye of the storm in your own life, and it all starts with one thing: mastering your mind. Number 2, accept everything as it is. We often live under the false belief that we can control everything. We meticulously plan for the future, expecting things to unfold exactly as we wish. But when life takes an unexpected turn, we panic, grow frustrated, even suffer. The truth is, countless things are beyond our control. The weather, the actions of others, unforeseen events. If we keep resisting reality, we are only making ourselves miserable. Epictetus once said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather wish that what happens, happens the way it happens, then you will be happy." When we stop imposing expectations on the world and instead accept it as it is, we find happiness. But acceptance does not mean surrendering or becoming passive. On the contrary, it is a state of awareness, one where we learn to distinguish between what we can control and what we cannot. Like a chess player, we cannot change our opponent's moves, but we can adjust our own strategy. Like a sailor, we cannot control the direction of the wind, but we can set our sails wisely to navigate the currents. So how do we practice acceptance in daily life? The first step is to clearly recognize the boundary between what is within our power and what is not. Our efforts are within our control, but outcomes are not. Our actions are ours to decide, but other people's thoughts and emotions are not. Once we understand this distinction, we stop wasting energy on things beyond our reach. But understanding is one thing, practicing it is another. The next step is to cultivate acceptance through small moments in everyday life. Preparing ourselves for bigger challenges ahead when stuck in traffic instead of growing impatient. Use the time to reflect or listen to your favorite music when rain ruins your plans. Instead of feeling disappointed, embrace the moment. Feel the cool raindrops on your skin. Breathe in the fresh scent of the earth. After the storm, these small shifts gradually shape a new perspective, a different way of seeing the world. Ironically, the more we try to control life, the more vulnerable we become. But when we learn to accept, a strange sense of freedom emerges. It is like a river flowing around rocks instead of trying to break through them, or a kite soaring with the wind rather than fighting against it. We become more adaptable, more at ease, and most importantly, no longer dragged into unnecessary negative emotions. Is this easy? Of course not. Human nature craves control, wanting to bend everything to our will, and that very desire is what leads to disappointment. Ask yourself, how many times have you felt miserable just because something didn't go as planned? How many times have you been angry because someone didn't act the way you wanted? How many moments of joy have you lost dwelling on the past or worrying about the future? Life will never be perfect, but we can choose how we perceive it. If today you decide to accept everything as it is, without resentment, without resistance, simply accepting, you will find the world lighter and your heart at peace. And that is the path to happiness. Yet accepting things as they are is only half the journey. After all, life is not just what we see in front of us. It is also the unknown that lies ahead. What will tomorrow bring? Will our expectations be met, or will an unexpected turn await us if we keep fearing the unknown? Can our minds ever truly be at peace? To find lasting happiness, we must learn to embrace uncertainty with an open heart, something we will explore next. Number 3, embrace uncertainty. Why do we fear uncertainty? Because our minds are bound by the illusion of control. We want to know what tomorrow holds. We want certainty that our plans will unfold exactly as expected, but in reality, everything can change in an instant. A sudden storm, an unexpected phone call, an unforeseen opportunity. What happens when we resist uncertainty? We become tense, anxious, desperately clinging to things that were never truly ours to hold. But what happens when we learn to embrace it? We become free. Epictetus once said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." When we internalize this wisdom, we stop wasting energy on what's beyond our control and focus instead on how we respond to it. A trader cannot control the market, but they can control their investment choices. A person cannot stop the rain from falling, but they can choose to carry an umbrella or enjoy the rain. It is this ability to take charge of our perspective that transforms uncertainty from an enemy into an ally. Imagine your mind as a wild horse if you try to control it. By pulling the reins too tightly, it'll resist and throw you off. But if you learn to guide it with skill and ease, you can ride it freely without fear. Uncertainty works the same way, rather than fighting against it. Learn to ride its waves. When faced with an unclear future, don't panic. Instead, ask, what opportunity does this bring? Rather than thinking, what's the worst that could happen? Ask yourself, how can I adapt? Applying this mindset in real life is not as difficult as you might think. The first step is to recognize the things you are trying to control in vain. Write them down. I worry about how others perceive me. I fear my plans will fail. I'm scared. Things won't go as expected. Then ask yourself, are these things truly within my control? If not, let them go. Next, practice adaptability. Try going through a day without rigidly planning every detail. Just let things unfold naturally. When an unexpected obstacle arises, observe how you react. Do you tense up or do you accept it? Can you find a creative solution instead of resisting? Each time you succeed, you will feel lighter, stronger. Finally, cultivate faith in yourself. Not blind faith that everything will always be fine, but the belief that whatever happens, you will handle it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that human beings possess an extraordinary ability to adapt, as long as they do not lose their composure in the face of the unknown. You don't need to know exactly what the future holds. You only need to trust that whatever comes, you will stand firm. Look back on your life. How many times have moments of uncertainty opened doors you never expected, leading you to incredible experiences beyond your imagination? Share your story in the comments. I would love to hear about your journey. And if you still hesitate to embrace uncertainty, perhaps now is the time to face it with courage. You may not control every turn life takes, but you can learn to flow with it and savor the ride. And when you do, you won't just find peace. You'll discover an extraordinary strength within yourself. Subscribe to the channel so we can continue building resilience, discovering value, and finding strength together on this journey. Number 4, be indifferent to praise and criticism. Imagine you are walking through a bustling marketplace. Vendors call out to you from all directions, each with their own pitch, their own price, their own enticing offer. Some flatter you. You have a great eye for quality. Others criticize. You probably don't know how to choose properly. If you react to every single comment, you'll be exhausted before you even leave the market. But if you simply smile and keep walking, none of it will weigh on you. Life is just like that marketplace. People will always have something to say about you. One day, you are a hero. The next day, you are a failure. If you let yourself be swayed by every opinion, you'll be trapped in an endless cycle of validation and rejection, of joy and despair. But if you choose indifference, not because you don't care, but because you understand that your worth isn't defined by praise or criticism, you will be truly free. What does this mean? It means you don't have to please everyone. If someone likes you, great. If someone doesn't, that's fine too. Stoics don't advise you to become cold or unfeeling. They simply want you to realize that your mind belongs to you, not to the crowd. Epictetus once said, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone.'" If someone speaks badly about you, instead of scrambling to defend yourself or fix your reputation in their eyes, ask yourself, how many other flaws of mine have they not even noticed? Is it really worth your concern? This perspective is paradoxical, but incredibly liberating. Rather than worrying about how others judge you, remind yourself that you are imperfect, and that's perfectly okay. The truth is, no matter what you do, someone will always judge you. You could be the best version of yourself, and still there will be those who think you are not enough. So why waste your energy trying to shape your image to fit everyone's expectations? When you stop trying to control how others see you, you'll feel a profound sense of relief. But does indifference mean you stop striving for improvement? Not at all. In fact, the right kind of indifference makes you stronger, because when you are no longer controlled by praise or criticism, you can focus entirely on your goals. Try this before making any decision. Ask yourself, if no one were watching, if no one were there to praise or criticize you, would you still do it? If the answer is yes, then you are on the right path. If the answer is no, then maybe you are only doing it for external validation instead of seeking approval from others. Learn to evaluate yourself each night. Ask yourself, did I live according to my values today? Am I better than I was yesterday? If you can be satisfied with your answers, then the opinions of others lose their power over you. Think of the truly great figures in history: Socrates, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus. They were criticized, even persecuted, but did that change them? No. They continue to live by their philosophy, unmoved by either praise or condemnation. So will you challenge yourself just for one day live without worrying about what others think of you? Say what you truly mean. Do what you believe is right without seeking validation from anyone. And by the end of the day, you'll notice something: you feel lighter. Because in the end, when you stop chasing approval, you don't just find peace, you find yourself. Number 5, let go of the need to be right. Imagine yourself standing on a ship in the middle of the ocean. The sea is calm, the breeze is gentle, and the sun shines brilliantly. But then someone walks up to you and says, "The sky isn't blue, it's purple." How do you feel? A bit annoyed, an urge to argue, a burning desire to prove them wrong. Now think carefully. If you debate with them, will the sky change color? Will they suddenly nod in agreement and admit you are right? Or are you simply wasting your energy fighting something that doesn't matter? Stoicism doesn't tell you to abandon the truth, but it does remind you that not every battle is worth fighting. If someone can make you angry, it's not because they are powerful. It's because you've handed them control over your emotions. Let's be honest, we don't argue just to find the truth. We argue to defend our ego. We crave validation. We fear being seen as foolish. We fear losing power. We fear not being smart enough. And in our obsession with always being right, we unknowingly sacrifice our inner peace. Our minds are like fortresses. Whenever someone challenges our beliefs, our first instinct is to raise the walls in defense. But pause for a second. Why do we need to defend? Why can't we simply take a step back, smile, and let them believe whatever they want? Imagine holding a burning coal in your hand, ready to throw it at someone during an argument. Who gets burned first? The ego wants you to clutch that coal tightly, whispering, "If you let go, you lose," but is winning a meaningless battle worth the pain of a scorched hand? So how do we avoid getting burned first? Observe your own reactions when challenged, when someone disagrees with you. Instead of immediately pushing back, pause and ask yourself, do I really need to prove that I'm right? Is this worth disturbing my peace? 9 times out of 10, the answer will be no. Next practice, the art of listening. Most debates aren't about truth. They're about people wanting to be heard. When you stop trying to win a conversation and start truly listening, you'll be surprised at how people open up to you in silence. Real wisdom emerges. And finally, remember, not everyone is ready to let go of their need to be right. Some people value winning arguments more than they value peace. They will try to pull you into endless cycles of debate. But here's the key. You don't have to attend every battle you are invited to. True strength lies in knowing when to step away. So the final question for you is this. Do you want to be the one who wins the argument or the one who finds inner peace? If true happiness is your goal, maybe it's time to lower your sword, step back and free your mind. Now, congratulations. You've already made it more than halfway through. Not everyone has the patience to pause in the rush of life and reflect deeply like this. So take a moment to acknowledge your progress. One simple like isn't just a gesture of support, it's a reminder of how far you've come. But don't stop now. The finish line is just ahead. The most valuable insights always lie at the end of the journey, where you'll hold a clear map to letting go, finding peace, and mastering your own happiness. Keep going because the best is yet to come. Number 6, expect less. There's a story about a beggar wandering the streets, his clothes tattered, his eyes deep and hollow, as if they had witnessed a lifetime of storms. One day, a passerby asked him, "How can you remain so calm when you have nothing?" The old man smiled, squinting slightly as he replied, "Because I never thought I was supposed to have anything." We don't suffer because of what we lack. We suffer because of what we believe. We should have had an ideal relationship, a smooth career, a life without hardship. These expectations are like an invisible contract we unknowingly sign with life. But the irony is life never agreed to those terms, and when reality doesn't align with our script, disappointment rushes in like a flood. Stoic philosophy teaches that the only way to find peace is to expect less. This doesn't mean giving up on everything. It means understanding that the world does not operate according to our desires. When you grasp this, you will no longer feel betrayed by life. Think about it. How many times have you been angry because someone didn't treat you the way you expected? How many times have you felt frustrated because success didn't come when you thought it should? But have you ever asked yourself, who promised me that things would go my way? Seneca once said, "He suffers more than necessary." Who suffers before? It is necessary. We torment ourselves with expectations of an uncertain future. But if you pause and take a look around, you might realize, at this very moment, nothing is actually wrong. Things are simply not happening the way you expected them to. Now imagine this. What if you woke up tomorrow and decided to expect nothing? You don't expect anyone to love you in a certain way. You don't expect work to go smoothly. You don't expect every plan to unfold perfectly. Something strange happens when you do this. You start to appreciate the little things you once overlooked: a spontaneous smile, a quiet morning, a heartfelt conversation. When you stop expecting so much, even the simplest moments can bring you joy. Expecting less doesn't mean leading a dull life. It means learning to embrace life as it is. When you lower your expectations, you also reduce your fears. You stop worrying about losing things because you were never tightly attached to them in the first place, like a leaf floating down a river. You begin to drift freely without resistance. And so the real question is, do you truly need everything you desire to be happy, or is it your very desires that are causing your suffering? Today, try living without imposing expectations on the world. Observe, listen, accept everything as if you were a traveler, stepping into an uncharted journey, because when you stop demanding that life follow your script, you will discover something remarkable. Life has always been beautiful in its own way. You just never noticed. Seeing the world with eyes free of expectation brings peace, but then comes another challenge. How do you protect that peace? Life not only pulls us into our own desires, but also weighs us down with the expectations of others. If you say yes to every request, if you let others dictate how you spend your time and energy, are you truly in control of your life? Perhaps it's time to embrace another powerful principle: the courage to say no. Number 7, say no more often. Have you ever watched those sci-fi movies featuring magical doors that can take you anywhere to a land of joy, a place filled with light, or even a chaotic abyss? But here's the strange thing: in real life, such a door exists right within your reach. It doesn't require a golden key, nor does it rely on magic. It's a single word. No, a simple word. Yet, if used correctly, it can unlock the door to a more peaceful and fulfilling life. On the other hand, if you hesitate to step through it, you may find yourself trapped in a never-ending maze, where every turn leads to commitments you never truly wanted. Imagine this: you are standing before a lavish banquet overflowing with tempting dishes. You are not really hungry, but the host keeps urging you to try a little. You feel guilty turning them down, so you take a bite. Then another. Before you know it, you've overeaten, feeling heavy, exhausted, maybe even regretful. Life is like that. Banquet invitations, responsibilities, and opportunities constantly present themselves, and we often feel pressured to say yes. But just as overeating makes the body sluggish, taking on too much wears down the mind. The Stoics believed that true freedom comes not from pleasing everyone, but from mastering oneself. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." If you want to live a meaningful life, you must learn to let go of what isn't truly yours to carry. Try seeing rejection not as turning something down, but as making a choice. When you say no to one thing, you are not rejecting people or opportunities. You are simply choosing a path that aligns better with who you are. Remember, a great artist isn't the one who paints everything they can, but the one who knows how to erase the unnecessary strokes. A fulfilling life doesn't come from doing it all, but from carefully choosing what's worth your time and energy. If you are not used to saying no, the world around you won't take it lightly. People will react. They will be surprised. Some may even feel disappointed. But that's a good sign. If you've never let anyone down, chances are you've sacrificed too much of your freedom just to please others. So what if you start saying no today? Here's the fascinating part. Once you begin practicing selective rejection, something unexpected happens. Life feels lighter. The truly important things will naturally rise above the noise. You will have more time to focus on what genuinely brings you joy, and most importantly, you'll start to feel free, because at the end of the day, Happiness isn't about having more. It's about carrying less. Are you ready to open that door? Sometimes a single no can change everything. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by meaningless yeses, drop a say no as a commitment to yourself that from today onward, you will curate your life with greater intention. Number 8, embrace discomfort to grow. Imagine yourself as a sharp blade without the grindstone, without pressure and friction. The edge dulls, becoming useless. Life operates in the same way. If you constantly avoid discomfort, refusing to face challenges, you will never sharpen yourself, never evolve into the strongest version of who you can be. The Stoics believed that hardship, inconvenience, and adversity are not obstacles to growth, but the very conditions that allow us to thrive. You've probably heard the saying, if you want to be strong, you must be willing to endure. But have you ever wondered why happiness and peace don't come from ease, but rather from embracing discomfort? Stoicism does not seek a life of convenience. Instead, it cultivates the inner strength to confront difficulties head on. Epictetus once said, "Difficulties are what show men's character." Therefore, when trouble comes, think of yourself as a wrestler whom God, like a trainer, has paired with a tough young man for practice. Challenges are not punishments. They are training grounds. Just as a wrestler must train with a stronger opponent to refine his skill. But how exactly do we learn to embrace discomfort rather than resist it? Think of professional boxers. They don't just endure the pain of being hit. They actively train with harder punches every day. This not only toughens their bodies, but conditions their minds to withstand hardship in daily life. This principle can be applied in small yet powerful ways. Wake up earlier than you want to and train your discipline instead of indulging in extra sleep when faced with a daunting opportunity. Step outside your comfort zone instead of retreating into the familiar. If there's a difficult conversation waiting, don't avoid it. Face it, knowing that discomfort is a catalyst for personal growth. Even in the smallest ways, voluntarily embracing inconvenience, walking instead of driving, silencing your phone instead of letting it dictate your attention builds resilience. Doesn't it seem paradoxical? We often believe happiness lies in comfort. Yet the most fulfilled people are those who have faced trials and mastered their minds in the face of adversity. When you willingly accept discomfort, it stops being suffering and transforms into training. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly faced something that made you uncomfortable? Did you step into it or shy away? The Stoics never sought the easy path. They entered life as warriors, standing firm in the face of storms, knowing that resilience is not found in avoidance, but in confrontation. If today feels difficult, don't curse it. Be grateful. Life is not breaking you, it is forging you. So the next time you find yourself in an uncomfortable situation, remember this. Growth never comes from ease. Embrace the challenge. Make it part of your journey, and in doing so, you will discover a profound sense of peace, not by escaping life's hardships, but by rising to meet them. Number 9, reflect on death. We live as if we were immortal, as if tomorrow is always there waiting for us to right our wrongs. To love to chase unfinished dreams. We promise ourselves that one day we will truly start living. Yet we keep burying ourselves in trivial worries and invisible pressures. We postpone happiness. We delay life while time moves forward, waiting for no one. But if there is one undeniable truth in this world, it is this: we will die. Stoic philosophy does not shy away from death. It faces it. Head on. The Stoics have a powerful mantra, memento mori. Remember that you will die not to instill fear, but to awaken us when we truly grasp the inevitability of death. Only then do we learn how to live. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Think about it. If today were your last, how would you live differently? Would you still hold grudges over petty matters? Would you continue scrolling through social media all day without genuinely connecting with anyone? Or would you hold your loved ones a little longer? Summon the courage to say what you've never dared to say, and savor each moment you once took for granted. And here lies the paradox. Contemplating death does not bring despair. It liberates us from meaningless burdens. It acts as a sharp blade, cutting away the trivial, leaving us only with what truly matters. It reminds us that nothing is worth wasting time on, not regret, not fear, not the endless pursuit of things we don't actually need. How do the Stoics practice this? They do not wait until their final moments to learn how to live. Instead, they frequently ask themselves, if this were the last time I did this, how would I do it? When eating, walking, conversing, observing the world, they approach everything with absolute presence, as if it were their last chance. You can start with a simple exercise each night before bed. Imagine that you might not wake up the next morning, not to be pessimistic, but to reflect, did I live fully today? Did I do something meaningful? If this were my last day, would I have any regrets? This is not a new idea. Samurai warriors lived by the same philosophy. They believed that only by accepting death could they fight without fear. In the same way, when we make peace with death, we break free from the chains of unnecessary worries. We live boldly, fearlessly, without delaying what matters most, our very lives. So ask yourself again, if tomorrow never comes, are you truly living today? I'm genuinely curious. What is your answer? Feel free to share your thoughts. We've just explored 9 essential Stoic principles to help you let go and find true inner peace. Life is unpredictable, full of challenges and uncertainties, but you don't have to be swept away by them. Happiness isn't about controlling everything around you. It's about knowing what to hold on to and what to release. When you accept that some things are beyond your control, you stop being a prisoner of circumstances and start becoming the master of your own life. Peace isn't some distant destination. It's in the way you choose to live each day, when you face adversity with calm resilience. When you stop letting emotions dictate your actions, when you realize that no one can take away the freedom within your own mind, that's when you truly find happiness. If this video has brought you value, and you haven't already, take a moment to like it. It helps spread positivity to more people. Share your thoughts in the comments below and send this video to someone who needs to hear this message. And don't forget to subscribe. There's so much more wisdom coming your way. See you in the next video.